that's in. Oh my God!
He dropped it.
Oh my! The Browns live to see another day. He threw a gift-wrapped interception to Kyle Hamilton, one of the best defensive players in the league, and Kyle Hamilton bobbled that. There must be Vaseline on the football, G. It was an overthrow to Elijah Moore.
Kyle Hamilton.
That is incredible.
He undercut that route.
That is incredible.
And that's about 4 or 5. That's about 4 or 5 interceptions that either the Ravens or the Browns could have had at this point. So right here, it's second down. We need somebody to step up. We need somebody to figure this thing out. And these are where the games come down to, right?
He almost threw an interception. He's about to throw a touchdown here. The football gods he's going deep. And Tillman, touchdown!
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 Yes! 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 That's what I'm talking about, baby! Let's go! Listen,
Tillman gets beyond the defense.
He has the shortest memory of all the time. He has dementia version of football. He didn't remember what happened 2 plays ago, up, top, down, south to Tillman, and he got the 2 fingers up. Famous Jameis Winston. Let's go, baby.
And just like that, the Jameis Winston train is born.
And listen, Flaccavelli is here. Jameis Winston is here. People called me a clown. But guess what? Yeah, I am. But put some respect on it. Big circus in the building.
Why are you a clown?
Because, my clown tendencies, because I told people that Jameis Winston might got a little something. He's a clown. Deshaun's done. Now you're on Jameis Winston. I said, yeah, man, I got a little something for y'all. And Jameis came up and did what he was supposed to do. So listen, I accept the clown type behavior. But if you're going to call me a clown, make sure you put some respect on the clown's name.
Make it Mr. Clown.
Big Circus is the name, and we in the game to get it done. Let's go. Win, win, win. Victory Monday, baby. Let's roll.
It is. Wow.
Yeah.
Fun game.
So much to unpack. Yeah. Big show. Your column was awesome. About time somebody said what to print, what
everybody saw it.
Was obvious.
Everybody saw it.
A lot to get to. I want to take a quick second off the top. I don't want to go too long here because we're going to do it at the end. But I think Jim Donovan had a hand in Hamilton dropping that football. Call me crazy. A lot of people will. I don't know how else to explain it. Jimmy's spirit was in the locker room, as you know, before the game.
Yep.
It was in all of their thoughts and their minds and their processes. And our hearts now go out to Jimmy's wife, Cheryl, and their daughter, Megan. This is a very tough time for all of us that knew Jimmy, that worked with Jimmy. And really, even if you didn't know Jimmy, you felt like you knew Jimmy. So it's really a tough time for the entire Northeast Ohio fan base, and particularly the Browns fan base.
I wrote a column that it's going up soon, might be up now, that Jimmy was defending Kyle Hamilton on that play. And Jimmy kicked the plant foot of Justin Tucker when he missed the 50-yard field goal. Jimmy just reached his hand out and nudged the Suns 6 inches left.
It's amazing.
And Rashad Bateman's eyes, because the ball was right there. It was a wide open, easy catch. It should have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
And it's an incomplete pass.
That's football. That's the way the ball bounces sometimes. When you win, you tend to forget about those plays that went your way. When you lose, you highlight them and you hold on to them. That's the game. We've had enough of those go against us. Whatever happened yesterday at Huntington Bank Field, it was historic, it was monumental, and I think we've turned the page. I think this was the last period on the Deshaun Watson paragraph, story, whatever you want to call it, during his time here. I think he's done. It was amazing how you take one piece out, put another piece in, and suddenly everything looks better.
Looks like last year, didn't it?
Looks exactly
like last year. What's that tell you?
Let's go around the horn with shotgun reactions. Bull, you can start us.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest takeaway to me was that, man, it really solidified how gutless Deshaun Watson played here in Cleveland. And solidified him as clearly the worst quarterback in the NFL, which is really hard to believe. I know some people say, well, leave him alone. Well, what we saw is at best, mediocre quarterback in Joe Flacco, and at best, mediocre quarterback in Jameis Winston look like legitimate NFL players running this offense. Yes, mistakes were made. Jameis threw a ton of passes that could have or should have been picked. But Jameis and Joe play with you want to say reckless abandon? They're not worried. They're not afraid to make a mistake, and that's why they're able to make big plays. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, you can't win on the biggest stage with quarterbacks like that. I mean, well, the counter to that would be that Joe Flacco had one. He didn't used to play that way. He plays that way now.
And guys have won that way, but it's rare.
Yeah, but what you can do is you can win some games and you can look like a real NFL team. You cannot be scared to throw the ball down the field and get intercepted. The offense was exactly the same. The guys were open again, but this time they had a quarterback that wasn't afraid to throw it to them, wasn't afraid to throw with anticipation. And everybody else, yes, guys played better. The team looked different. They looked like a real NFL team, and that was a lot of fun. It was a great game. It was a fun game. I would have said it was a fun, obviously it wouldn't have been as fun if they would have lost. But even if they had lost, you could have still said, hey, that was a fun game. Unfortunately, we lost. And we haven't had many of those. We haven't had any of those this year.
First one this year.
And so, yeah, it was fun to see that, okay, we started to think maybe we overrated the rest of the talent. I don't know. I still think we did a little bit, but not as much as we thought, because at least for one game, and it's only one game, the talent on this roster overall looked just fine.
My thought was really simple. For the last month, the Browns have lied to you. And they told you that Deshaun Watson gave this team the best chance to win. You knew it wasn't true. I knew it wasn't true. We all knew it wasn't true. The entire city of Cleveland, the entire franchise knew it wasn't true. And they still kept running him out there because of the contract and trying to prove the contract was a valid decision. It wasn't. We knew that by the end of September. And they wrecked their own season. They sabotaged their own season to try and prove some sort of point. And it aggravates me because it didn't have to be this way. The season didn't have to go this way. They didn't have to be a 2-6 football team and out of the playoffs already. So, there's some people, whoever's decision that was, whether it was Kevin Stefanski or someone above him, whoever insisted that they keep running Deshaun out there shoulders the blame for what happened to this season, because Sunday looked exactly like last year did when Joe Flacco took over. This is now 5 straight games, regular season games, that Deshaun Watson did not start that the quarterback threw for over 300 yards, something Deshaun never did in his time here. It was Deshaun. It was always Deshaun. It wasn't the play calling. Had nothing to do with who was holding the play sheet. It had to do with who was holding the football. And now you learn from that, and now you move on. And I agree with Jay. That last week was the last time you'll ever see Deshaun Watson on the field for the Cleveland Browns.
Listen, I think, the story could be about Deshaun Watson. The story could be about who done it and who is the blame game. But for me, I take from what happened on that football field, the Baltimore Ravens came into that game playing like one of the best teams in the league. The Baltimore Ravens just got done dusting off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the week before. Lamar Jackson, people were saying 3-time MVP. They was already giving it to him. And the Cleveland Browns came out there on that football field and they did two things. They solidified the fact that, hey, Kevin Stefanski got his team to play. When people was talking about Kevin being done, when Kevin was out of here, people was talking about Barry, who's going to get fired. Give Kevin Stefanski credit, because he came out and his team played better. His team didn't fold up. There was some calls that didn't go their way. They did not fold up. Also, you look at what Kevin Stefanski did. I commend him for this. A lot of times we telling people like, hey, listen, Kevin Stefanski couldn't make the call on this. He couldn't make the call on that. The ownership is telling him what to do. I give him all the credit in the world for giving Ken Dorsey the plays and saying, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be an active coach, an active CEO on the sideline. I thought Ken Dorsey did a great job calling plays. I thought there was some flow to it, some rhythm to it. And it shows that when you put confidence in your staff and you give them the confidence to go out there and make some plays, I thought he did a tremendous job. And then finally, my thing is Jameis Winston. We talked about it last year when we talked about Joe Flacco. At first, people thought, oh, that's a nice story. It's Joe Flacco. Then he started continuing to play and his team rallied around him. So when you see Jameis Winston, and I was watching last week while I was ill, Sean King said this, let's not put a ceiling on Jameis Winston. Let's see what he actually really has, because last year we didn't want Joe Flacco until Joe Flacco showed up and showed what he can do. There was a lot of interceptions. People talk about those interceptions. I care less about that. We was just talking 2 weeks ago about check down Charlie and Deshaun Watson and how he wasn't pushing the ball downfield. So for me, we could go coulda, woulda, shoulda. The Browns could have did the same thing when we was taking L's and Deshaun wasn't playing well. We was taking the full brunt of that. The coulda, woulda, shouldas, it was happening, and we was taking account for it. If the interceptions didn't happen, I'm going to take that 3, whatever he threw for, and like it. And here's the big thing, too. I will say this. At the end of the day, I think the Cleveland Browns fan base, you got to look at it like this. Everything that we talked about before with Deshaun Watson, you got to leave that wherever that at. Like, to me, like after today, it's a non-story. Deshaun Watson probably will never play for the Cleveland Browns again, and the Cleveland Browns are 1-0 moving forward with the guys that they still have in this locker room. And so when we look at it, it's just like going on dates. Sometimes when you get out of a bad relationship, the worst thing that you could do is go around going on dates asking people to marry you. Nah, what are you doing? No, anybody marrying you right now. What we're going to do is have some fun. We're going to go on some dates. We're going to go to the movies with Jameis Winston and hang out a little bit. That's no commitments. And if something happens, something happened. But other than that, I'm not going to be running here looking for no franchise quarterback the rest of the year because I need something to look forward to, Jay. It ain't even Halloween yet. And the Brown season is out of here. I'm going to take my time with this, and I'm going to date just like we supposed to. Good win, and we'll talk about the rest of the things and try to put this Deshaun Watson stuff behind us in bed and see what we do moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with your point that the Deshaun Watson story, as of today, we'll pick the carcass clean today. Yesterday, what we saw at Huntington Bank Field was the football funeral for Deshaun Watson. That's it. It's over. It's a wrap. It's done. He's finished. He's certainly finished here. Maybe he'll get a look, maybe, after this. I can't imagine that he does. What we learned yesterday was the power of one position. I've always said it is the most difficult position in sports to play. It is also the most important position to play. The Browns were a better football team yesterday before they ever put cleat to grass. They were better because their mind was better. They knew the guy that their coach was telling them gave them the best chance to win. They knew that was wrong too. They had to have. They see it in practice every day. They know it more than we know it. And what's sad about this whole story is that had he not been hurt, they'd still be rolling him out there. They'd still be stinking the place up with that. It took an injury for them to stumble upon the fact that this is a pretty good football team like we all thought. All of a sudden, you've got 4 pass catchers looking like they belong in the NFL when prior to this year, our best pass catcher got run out of town, and the other ones, with him still throwing the football, looked remedial. So what we learned yesterday was you take a toxic presence out of the mix and put in a Jameis Winston vocal leader, and all of a sudden, you're better before the game starts. Defense looked better yesterday, guys? What do you think? Defense looked great.
The defense played well against Cincinnati the week before.
Forget the defense.
They did. They were coming. There were signs that they were coming along.
The offensive line.
The offensive line suddenly.
O-line.
You know why?
O-line game.
Because to your point, you had a quarterback who was so afraid to throw an interception, he would take a sack. He would try to scramble and get maybe 1 yard. He would throw an incompletion. His biggest fear was, I'm not going to throw an interception. And he didn't. But other than that, he was abysmal. The line looked better because you had a quarterback that was willing to force it into tight windows. This is the NFL. There are rarely wide open guys. Usually the windows and the lanes for throwing are very tight and the margin for error is negligible. And in Jameis Winston, you're right, he's a gunslinger, and you're also right, he lived on the edge and got a lot of lucky breaks. And if not, we're talking about a completely different narrative today. But he got those breaks. And the fact of the matter is, when he had to make a big play, he dropped back, he found his guy deep, and he threw a pass that we all remember what that looks like with the orange helmet, but we haven't seen it this year.
Well, Jay, what was particularly exciting about that, beyond the obvious that it was a touchdown, was the fact, like right before, when the Browns got the ball there, I tweeted out, like, please don't play conservative. Play to win.
Sure.
Don't play not to lose. Like, don't just settle for a field goal. Your kicker's been not as reliable this year. He did a good job yesterday, but And then they take a chance on that play, and it almost got picked off.
Right.
And then I thought to myself, oh, now they're definitely going to get conservative. And the very next play, they got even more aggressive, which I loved, and it panned out.
The Ravens thought they were going to get conservative, too.
I bet they did.
They were clearly creeping, and they got caught deep.
Yes, and I love that. That's what I've
too.
loved about Stefanski, and I wasn't seeing it this year, is not playing with your you-know-what's in your hand.
Right.
Let's go. We play to win.
So they're better with him on the bench. I had talked about the control and the experiment. I would have loved to have seen what this game would have looked like with Stefanski calling the plays. But
the exact same.
We'll get into it. But my general takeaway was that's Kevin's offense.